The baseball season sprouts up today with the first spring training game in Arizona. The LA Dodgers versus the San Diego Padres getting an early start because
Yankees
they begin the regular season with the first games in South Korea in March. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
News Talk 790 WNIS.
Good morning. We've got delays headed toward Virginia Beach. Yes, we do. 264 eastbound near Newtown Road in the inside set of lanes. We still have the car fire there at the moment blocking the right lane. Going to be stop and go at least from the 264 split. If you're headed toward Virginia Beach from Norfolk, stay in the outside set of lanes to bypass this. JRB still sluggish. The lift has wrapped up. Also very slow northbound and southbound at the Monitor Merrimack. Leaving Norfolk westbound approaching the HRBT. Doing better but still slow from the Willoughby Bridge after an earlier breakdown. Eastbound leaving Hampton jammed from Armstead Avenue. Usual delays downtown and midtown. Downtown backed up to Des Moines. Midtown backed up to West Norfolk Road on 164. No backup on 64 as you head toward the high-rise bridge. Lee Foster, Skywatch Traffic.
I would like to speak to Bon Quisha.
Macrini's Morning News Team. Weekday morning 6 to 9 on News Talk 790 WNIS.
Partly cloudy with a high 59. Cloudy tonight, occasional showers, overnight low 48. Tomorrow's going to be cloudy, occasional showers, 57, 33 degrees. Perry Stone is coming up. Remember Perry? A great disc jockey, a great guy. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Buy his book, Radio Days. Buy many copies of it. Do not steal this book. Buy the book. And tomorrow we're talking Tidewater with Joel Rubin and Henry Doug. And all this for you on News Talk 790 WNIS. Let's do some news. Lee Foster.
A nationwide cellular outage has affected thousands of users coast to coast this morning, including many here at Hampton Roads. It appears customers are starting to come back online after the outages peaked around 4:30 this morning. Multiple networks are affected, including AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. No word on what caused the outage or how long it'll take to fully restore service. After a months-long investigation, a Dare County deputy will not face criminal charges in connection to the shooting death of Sylvester Demetrius Selby this past fall. A spokesperson for the North Carolina Conference of District Attorneys released a statement Wednesday saying it was determined the use of deadly force in shooting Selby was justified and necessary to protect the deputy and sergeant involved. Just days after the Democratic-led chambers of the Virginia House and Senate introduced their versions of what the Commonwealth's budget should be, we're now hearing from Governor Glenn Youngkin, who says despite differences in the proposed budgets, he's confident he can work with Democrats to find common ground. Youngkin proposed reducing personal income taxes while raising the state's sales tax. If your home needs an upgrade, you could try to do it yourself, which I had no interest in doing because I knew it would end poorly, or you can bring in the professionals at 50 Floor, serving Norfolk and Richmond. 50 Floor provides the ultimate flooring experience at the highest quality and lowest price. Hardwood, carpet, laminate, luxury vinyl, you pick what you want and let 50 Floor do all the work. From moving your furniture for you to removing the old flooring to installing the new floors, then cleaning up, 50 Floor does it all in just one day. Call 877-50-FLOOR. That's 877-50-FLOOR. Use the promo code LEE, L-E-E, and save $100 instantly. 877-50-FLOOR or visit the website 50floor.com. That's 50floor.com.
If you have a question for Perry or you want to make a comment, give us a call, 757-627-7979. Email, TONY@WNIS.com. And well, off the bat, I made a mistake. I should have brought in Bad to the Bone that he would start his show with all the time, and I thought that was great. But just before I get to Perry, let me tell you a little bit about how our relationship began. Somehow, I guess we got an audition tape or a phone call or whatever. And so we were going to bring him in because Bob Sinclair was very concerned about, how wild is this guy? And I thought he sounded great. I thought, man, this is going to be great. What a great addition. I mean, we'll have this guy on the afternoon. It'll be fantastic. So at the time, I had this little place out in Nag's Head, and my then wife was with me at the time. And I got the radio on, and I'm sitting in the backyard, and it's Perry's audition. And I'm laughing. And my wife comes out, and she says, in real life, you laugh all the time, but when you're listening to the radio, you don't. But you really like this guy. I said, he's incredible. I said, to be at a radio station where no one knows you, and you're there, and you know the owner and the program director and the general manager, they're all listening to you, and you sound this good? Yeah, there's something here. We need to hire this guy. I said, I really wanted to hire him. And kidding aside, my 4 favorite books, and probably many of you, are Silas Marner, Johnny Tremaine, The Art of the Deal, and now Radio Days.
Wow.
By the great Perry Stone. How the hell are you?
I am fine. It was such an incredible introduction. You really have the art of the BS. That should be your book. The Art of the Bull. That's right. It's fantastic. It's really good. And, I say this on my show. By the way, you are a social media superstar right now. We are on Trump's Truth Social. We're on Twitch. We're on X. Elon Musk is going crazy. He's shooting up rockets and shuttles, and it's fantastic. We're on every Rumble. We have every Sean Hannity is going kooky here. Who is this nut job? So yeah, you are a superstar in social media, my friend Tony. But I do say this to the audience. I've said it all week. I said, I did send an audition tape. Back then they had this, trade magazine, and I was looking for a job. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I get fired a lot. I am the Tom Brady of unemployment. I just want everybody to know that. I have Christmas cards from every state from the unemployment offices. I keep them. It makes me cry. I get a little choked up here. But yes, so I saw this ad. It said, we're looking for a news talk person. I said, I'm a rock jock. But I sent it anyway. I figured, I've never done news talk before. And sure enough, I get a call from this guy, Tony Macrini. And then they flew me in. They put me in a hotel in Virginia Beach. I'm having pina coladas. And I'm driving, into the radio station every day. And I'm going, what the hell am I doing? And so it was perfect because it was the time in the 90s where Bill Clinton stained a woman's dress in the White House. So we had topics going on and off. It was great. And, how do you pronounce Norfolk? That was a topic too. So, it's Norfolk. Exactly. So, yeah, so it was wild. And then I got the job. And then I had this great intro from the father of News Talk. Rush Limbaugh was on before me. So I had all this incredible audience. It was wild. It was crazy. And then Sinclair buys 96X. And I walk in and I said, Bob, I got an idea. You're looking for a morning guy. Why don't I do both? He goes, what are you talking about? I said,
that was a smart.
Yeah. I said, well, I wanted more money from the guy. What, are you crazy? Yeah. So I go into Bob Sinclair, and, Bob is a great guy. He's very, very smart, but he has an ego like the most. I said, you will be the first man. You'll be a maverick. I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, do the morning show on 96, go home, get some shut-eye, and then come back and do news talk. He was like, I don't know. So the next day he says, I like the idea. I like that. We're going to do a television commercial with it too. So it was a great time. I was doing 2 shows per day. It was fantastic. It really was. I enjoyed myself. So,
I thought, when you were here, and I was doing the morning show, of course, and you were doing an afternoon drive, in my opinion, it was the best the radio station ever sounded. And I mean this quite sincerely. I'm so glad to talk to you, so glad to have you on. And I really do think I've worked with a lot of good people, mostly bums, but a lot of good people. And I tell you, man, nobody better than you. Nobody. And we had such a good time. And there's so many things I want to bring up, so many stories to get to, so much to talk about. The only problem I have, Perry, and go buy the book, Radio Days, A Man's Gotta Eat, huh?
Yes.
Perry Stone, Radio Days, not to be confused with the televangelist. I would have liked the book only if it had been a little longer, only 500 pages.
Yeah, they told me to cut it down and whatnot. But, I didn't know. I kept writing, and I couldn't stop. I was like an addict. I had all these stories. And I said, if I'm going to write a book, might as well go full throttle here. And, it's available now at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Hookers on 42nd Street in New York. They've got it. It's fantastic. And Tony Macrini is in that book, ladies and gentlemen. The whole story behind 96X and WNIS, all the crazy stunts that we did that made Bob go crazy. And, he was like, what happened? We put up a blow-up doll and it went over the bridge. And, it was crazy. Yeah, it was nuts.
I'm skipping all around the book, Perry. And so, I read most of it. I'm in and out. I'm going out. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did remember, one of the things that really cracked me up the most that you did is there was a guy named Billy Franklin, and he had written a book, an expose, a tell-all. Remember all that stuff at the Pierre Motel with the beauty queen and Governor Chuck Robb. And I was hysterical. I'm driving home, and I'm listening to you, and you got Chuck Robb on. And Chuck Robb is actually going through a big change because you're actually reading the names of the women that he was allegedly involved with to him. And he, off mic, says, "You hear what this guy's doing to me? You hear what this guy's doing to me?"
It's amazing, and I think you could relate. When I'm on the air, it's like I become a different person. It's kind of like something clicks in where I don't give a flying fig about anything. There's no filter. It comes out. Now, I've learned in my elder years of being 87 years old that basically, you got to, in this day and age of political correctness, you got to kind of temper it a little bit. But back then, man, I was much younger and I didn't care. It's just like, here we go. I'm going to do it. Let's entertain, buddy. You know the deal, right?
But I got to say this, though. I always got the impression that you were very well prepared. You came in very early. You had all kinds of drops going. And back in those days, we're playing them in the cart machines and everything. Yeah. I always thought that you knew where you were going. But then I did wonder about that sometime. Has he thought this through? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where are we going with this? How is it going to end up? But it all seemed to work out for the most part. Until the very end.
Yeah, till the very end it did. But I really had very, very fond memories of working for WNIS and 96X. I mean, they're some of the best times in my life. Some of the crazy stunts that we did. So, when you read the book, it was, there's some radio stations and markets I've been that were really god-awful and terrible bosses and whatnot. But, you guys are like a family. And the thing about what people may not understand about the current state of the radio industry is that people are losing jobs left and right. There's consolidation. There's a lack of personality and freedom because you just can't. What you make one off-color comment about anything, you get fired. Back in the day, okay, temper it a little bit. So yeah, it's a different time. So you are very lucky, and the people there that work for Sinclair, very lucky because corporate radio is just not what it used to be, and having local radio and for the most part, job security is something you just can't buy. It's just a great thing that you've been there for. How many years have you been there, Tony?
I've been here for 100. I've been here for 100 years. I swear to God, Marconi dropped me off. I was just. I've literally February 18th. I've been here 33 years.
Wow.
Work cheap and take a lot of crap, and you'll get by just fine, if you know what I mean.
You have to. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
One of the things that has definitely changed is, I didn't begin in New York like you did. I began in Vermont, and I don't know where the kids start today. I don't think there's any opportunities for them. The first radio station I ever worked at, WSNO, if you can believe that, in Barrie, Vermont, it was live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are no live programs on that station. When you were here, we were live in the morning. Every now and then we had something going on, Ask the Expert or something in midday, but it was live. Then we had Limbaugh. Then we had you. And then you remember Jack Howard?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yes. The libtard. Is he still there?
No.
Oh.
He's moved on. And last time I heard he got into politics.
Oh, he did?
He was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was really into that. And I was thinking about that too. And I'm older than you. How old are you?
Let's see. I am 65.
I'm 73, Perry.
Holy moly. That's amazing. But somebody that's older than me. I love you. I love hearing this. It's good for I think I got, wait a second. It moved. Yeah, that's, yeah. So, but it's something that's in your blood. I've been doing this since I was like 20 years old. I got the bug. All I did was sit in my room and win radio contests and concert tickets and money. And when I heard my name on the radio, it was like an epiphany. I reached puberty. It was like, this is what I want to do. So you're right. You deal with a lot of crap. I personally have moved around the country. I'm tired. I'm sick of it already.
How many times? How many stations have you worked for?
Oh my God. I would say about 15, maybe 17 radio stations. Yeah, I mean, and moving around is not, I mean, it's okay when you're in the 20s and 30s, but after a while, man, it gets really old. I mean, I was in San Francisco and I had a beautiful house back in the 80s. If I had just stayed there, I'd be a millionaire the way prices are, housing costs in San Francisco. But, you move around, you do it, you have to do it, man. And the nature of my show back then was, you're walking the tightrope every day. You're taking chances, and sometimes it doesn't end well, and you have to pack up and move along. You know.
Now, one of the first emails I got, this is from yesterday's. This guy wrote this in, and he says, "Good morning, Tony. The Perry Stone you mentioned this morning, is that the televangelist Perry Stone, or the infamous Perry Stone that I listened to on KSJO back in the Bay Area during the 80s?"
Yes. That Perry Stone, the televangelist, is the bane of my existence, okay? Because people often confuse me. But here's the thing. I've made some money because when I was on the radio, I'd actually get calls. This is true at the radio station. "Is this Perry Stone Ministries?" And I put the person on the air. "Yes, it is, my child. What can I do for you?" "I'd like to make a donation." "Ah, bless you, my child." And I give them the address for them to send me money. Yes, and I would bless them. I know it's terrible. I'm going to hell. But it didn't happen very often. But yes, they confuse me with the televangelist. And then I get calls from listeners. "Perry, were you on at 3 o'clock in the morning doing a sermon?" I said, "Yes, I am. Yes, my child. Let me bless you right now." Yes. So, yeah, it is funny that there's a televangelist named Perry Stone. And I couldn't be further different than him. Yeah.
You told me it could have been at this radio station, but I always remember we were sitting in the office and you told me this funny story about how you got fired. And I want to set it up for you. It's the one where there were little soldiers in an ashtray.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Tell me that story.
This guy, I think he also wrote a book. He was a radio consultant program director. His name was Jerry Cagle. And I worked for a rock station in New York City called WAPP. Well, needless to say, they changed the format to top 40 CHR. I'm not a CHR jock. So he was trying, and everybody was union, okay? It was AFTRA. And he basically had a reputation, okay, of taking joy, finding creative ways to fire people. In other words, the two stories I remember, and he tells this with pride. He said he would call somebody in, shut the door, the guy would sit down, and he would just stare at the guy, the employee. And he'd open up his drawer, and he'd put a toy soldier in an ashtray, and then he would light it, and he'd watch it burn. And then when it was down to ashes, he'd look at the guy and say, "It's gone, and so are you." "Yeah, it's gone. So, yeah, so are you." And then there was another story where he would take a photo, Polaroid. He would take a snapshot and then hand it. He would say, "Okay, when this develops, you're out of here." And that would be it. He took total joy. And this guy tried to get me off the air. He called the hotline because he couldn't fire anybody. He had all these rock jocks, and here I am doing top 40. You could do top 40, but he would say, "You suck. You're unbelievably horrible. I can't believe it." He tried to get me fired. He never got me fired because I moved on. I became a VJ. That's when the MTV era was popping, and I became a VJ in New England. And so I worked out a deal. I said, "Here's what I want. Here's the check I want, and I'll leave." And they, Doubleday Broadcasting, who back then owned the Mets, they wrote the check, and I was gone. I was up to Boston.
Now, another story that I really like, and I want you to tell the people about it. Back in the day, it was much different than it is now, and the competition was different. Everybody was on AM and FM. It was before Sirius Satellite and all that kind of stuff. And the rock stations were in a war. The big one was FM 99.
Yes.
And Perry, let me say this about Perry, because he's not one to brag about himself. That's not his nature. That's not his style. But so I'll have to brag on him. This guy really had guts, and I was always amazed at what you would think of, and it was one-upmanship, but you really had guts, and you're very candid in the book. I got to salute you, man. You got some guts, Perry. You're very candid. Some of the stuff you say, it's really amazing to me. But one of the things that really cracked me up, and I remember this well, is when they had, and I'll let you tell the story, the 1,000 T-shirts.
Yes.
Tell the story.
Yes. So the program director's name is Harvey Kojan, and he was the program director of WNOR FM 99, and 96X was in a battle with, FM 99. So they did this traditional thing, the day of 1,000 shirts. And they went to some location, some parking lot, some business, and I went into Bob Sinclair. I said, "You know what? Here's what we should do. Let's do a day of 2,000 shirts right across the street from them, just to annoy the crap out of them." So we did that. And it was a lot of fun, and we had, it was like a war. You had the listeners of FM 99, and you had the listeners of 96X. So then I got the bright idea. I said, I went on there. I said, here's what you do. If you go over to FM 99, get a shirt, bring it to me, I'll give you 3 shirts. So they went over there, and then I have this ton of FM 99 T-shirts. So I was like, crapping on it and peeing on it. Well, this incensed Harvey Kojan. He's there. And one of the, I guess, receptionists back down for Sinclair, she went over to get a shirt, and he got so angry that he grabbed the young girl's arm, twisted it, and broke it. And so it was terrible. And so I got a hold of Harvey's home number, and I left a message. So you're a real man, okay? You're like 6'5", and here's a little girl that you twisted. It's a radio bit. Well, he never called me back. However, bottom line is, a month ago I did a radio interview for the book in Minnesota, and the guy's name is Johnny Rock, who's in the book, and he promoted the fact that I was going to be on the next morning. Harvey Kojan put in the chat room. He spelt the whole profanity. Perry Stone. And Johnny Rock talked about it. He says, I got this message on the chat room from Harvey Kojan, F. Perry Stone. So that was one of the craziest stunts ever. It went crazy. And I used to annoy him because, Metallica, huge band, FM 99 was all over that. And so back then you couldn't say presents, and 96X was playing a little bit of Metallica, but the record company says, no, FM 99 gets the presents, they get the banners, they get everything. Well, we could show up with the 96X van, but that's about it. We couldn't go inside. So, I made a promise to the record company. I wouldn't do anything. However, I said, Bob Sinclair, there's nothing in here that says I can't have a plane flying over. So we got this guy to fly the plane. It says 96X, your official Metallica station. Harvey Kojan goes crazy. He goes nuts. I could see him fuming. The record company guy comes over. What are you doing? I said, you didn't say anything about me flying a plane. If I had known that, I wouldn't have done it. You didn't say, I didn't know. I played dumb. Yeah. So that was the kind of the war that was going on between those two radio stations.
Now, he's got a lot of great stories. Buy the book. He's going to be here for the next 33 minutes. We got calls coming in for Perry Stone. The book is Radio Daze, D-A-Z-E, My Personal Journey Through Life and Radio Industry. Perry, before we go into the break, I want you to tell the listeners all the different ways they can see you and hear your show and see you. Go ahead. Okay, so, wow. You got an hour? I'm on Rumble. Okay, Rumble, just type in Perry Stone. I'm on Twitch, which is Perry Stone 69. Don't ask me why I picked that number, okay? Oh. Twitch, yeah, Perry Stone 69. I'm on X, Perry Stone 9. I'm on Donald Trump's Truth Social right now. All you have to do is just, type in Perry Stone. I think that's about it. I used to be on Facebook. I've been banned for 6 months, okay? 6 months. Yeah, I've got over 4,000 followers. But you have to. Okay, Perry, what did you do to get banned from Facebook?
You have to understand, Mark Zuckerberg, on my show, not only do I play music, but we talk politics. We talk about everything, entertainment, kind of like your show. Yeah. But they don't like the fact that I make fun of Joe Biden. And they don't ever tell me. But that's basically it. Anything that is, I make fun of Democrats, they kick me off. And Mark Zuckerberg had to face Congress, about a year ago, for this very same thing. They would ban Republicans. And look, I'm fine with whatever political affiliation you're part of, but it got to the point where they're very slick. So for 6 months, and they don't give me a reason. I have gotten, I contacted the Attorney General of California, Attorney General of New York, of Tennessee, the Better Business Bureau, the FBI. Nothing. They don't give me any explanation. It just says, for security reasons, you will not be allowed. I can't post anything on Facebook. I can't stream. I can't be on direct messenger. I've written to them like 20 times. So yeah, this is what it's all about. Yeah.
Perry Stone is here today, and a great guest and a great guy. And we're going to take a break right now. We'll be more. And when we come back, buddy, you're going to be first. And AW writes, and he says, Bilal here, I cannot agree with you more. When you were in the morning and Perry was in the afternoon, filled in by Rush at midday, the audience could listen all day long to WNIS and be entertained and informed. This was the best radio station on the dial. Good to hear from Perry Stone again. It's been a long time.
Are you looking for a perfect venue to host your next private event? Look no further than Aberdeen Barn, the ultimate destination for unforgettable gatherings.
Oh, wow. They can accommodate up to 250 guests? That's amazing.
And did you know they now dry age their own beef for a mouth-watering 40 days?
That's right. At Aberdeen Barn, we take pride in our 2 dry aging rooms where you can witness the fascinating process yourself.
How about trying their famous fried oyster Rockefeller or the award-winning she crab soup?
And don't miss out on our local Eastern Shore oysters. They're a true delicacy.
All this talk about seafood is making me hungry. What about their steaks?
Let me tell you, they serve the best prime rib in town, and they've been doing it since 1966.
Plus, Aberdeen Barn is a locally owned and operated steakhouse with a passion for fresh seafood delivered daily.
Let's make a reservation at Aberdeen Barn for our next event.
Whether it's a private event or simply a night out for dinner, Aberdeen Barn is your go-to destination. Aberdeen Barn. Reserve your table or event today. AberdeenBarn.net.
Chronic joint pain, not having success with steroids, but trying to avoid surgery? Well, thankfully, there's a better way. And it's now available here from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Macrini. I'm talking about new, advanced, regenerative medicine treatments that can restore and repair damaged tissue in your bad joints, providing lasting relief with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural way to use highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to give you lasting relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in precision regenerative medicine with over 100 clinics across America and literally thousands of satisfied patients. If you've got joint pain, due to arthritis, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, don't just think the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new regenerative options that can change your life. Call QC Kinetics today. It's a free consultation with local medical professionals. Call 757-914-7246. 757-914-7246. 757-914-PAIN.
Hey, it's Mike in Prevento. Superior Pawn and Gun has been serving the Hampton Roads area for more than 30 years, and we need them now more than ever. As the General Assembly convenes in Richmond, the Second Amendment is under siege. Superior Pawn and Gun is where you can buy the tools of the trade, guns, ammunition, and accessories, and you can do it now. Firearms, ammo, everything that you need, including accessories, to enjoy and embrace your precious Second Amendment rights. And ask about the concealed weapons classes that have been a great success. And if you need a loan or want to sell anything from jewelry to heavy equipment, let Superior Pawn and Gun get you the most money for your valuables. Money is their inventory. They'll be fair and honest, private and confidential. Call Craig or Mitchell. Hey, Virginia Beach Boulevard store, 757-490-4760. Lynn Haven store, 757-427-2627. Or check them out online at superiorpawn.com. That's superiorpawn.com.
And remember, you never want to find yourself saying, I wish I had a condom. I wish I had rolling papers. I wish I had a gun. I wish I had Perry Stone's new book.
Hey, if you are in the market to make the most money for your home, Sean Hannity here with some important advice. Hire the agent that knows how to create the most demand for your home. Now, if I needed to create demand in this market, no question, there's only one real estate agent I trust if I needed to sell my home in Hampton Roads and surrounding areas. Well, I'm talking about Ron Sawyer and the Ron Sawyer team at RE/MAX Prime. Call Ron Sawyer, 757-447-2877 or on the web at listwithron.com.
Reduce your utilities and save up to 70% with a GeoStar Geothermal, a renewable heating and cooling solution that's environmentally responsible, clean, and affordable. Get a GeoStar Geothermal system for your home for the same price as a standard system. Put money back in your pocket with a 30% federal tax credit. Reduce your utilities today. Call Mechanical Equipment Sales for a qualified contractor at 757-490-0591 or visit mechanical-equipment-sales-inc.com.
So I got this. It says, it's from Joyce. Hi, Tony. I loved Perry. I was very disappointed when there was no more Perry on the station. So was I. Perhaps we'll address that. So happy to hear you two. Now, I got him in pause right now. But it was funny. I remember one time, every now and then we'd be on the air together. You know, for a little while we'd be interacting. And so some woman calls me up and complains, and she said, all you two do is laugh. So well, we're having a good time. Is that a bad thing? Welcome back, Perry Stone. Get the book. It's a great book, Radio Days. Now, if you like these stories, believe me, there are many more. And he is, I don't want to bring up all this different stuff, but he's very candid. I was even surprised at how candid he is. You got some guts there, Mr. Stone.
Tony, I do, but I have to say, right now, I'm not kidding you. Your show must be so popular. I'm getting all these new followers on Rumble. It's amazing. My phone is blowing up here. I hope they pay you like six figures. I'm serious. I mean, I've not seen this. This is incredible.
You got paid when you were here?
Kind of. Yeah, I did.
Let's take a phone call for Perry Stone. It's Buddy. Buddy, you're on with Perry. Go ahead.
Hello, Perry. It's good to hear you again. I just wanted to mention two of my favorite bits you had was the Northwest spotted ferret bat. And
yeah, I have that. Yes, I do. I play that on my platforms. It's one of the more popular, and PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or Perry, Eating Tasty Animals, they do not like that. I'm on their hit list. Yeah, and this is true. Along with Ted Nugent, I am on their hit list, so I have to watch my back. Yeah, I remember that bit. It's great.
All right.
And my other favorite was when Virginia Beach used to have a toll road, and you called the toll plaza and you pretended to be an Indian guy who lost your dot. And you were like, hey, I'm just trying to say, have ever been...
See, that's the funny thing. If I did that today on a radio, they'd be like, oh my God, yes, but I called, I lost my dot. Can you please find my dot? Yes.
Good to hear from you, buddy. I got this from Keith Perry. It says, now I'm going to have to go up into my attic and find Perry's CD made up of all his hilarious parodies from when he was on 96X. Please ask him which one was his favorite. Which one was your favorite?
Oh, my God. That's hard to say. On the CDs, there is something on my first CD called Shameless Income, and we promoted it. You have to get the CD for track 7, and we never said what track 7 was. Now... How do I explain this? It is 2 minutes of, let's say, a man who has explosive and goes to the bathroom, and all you hear is 2 minutes of this. And I use that today as Joe Biden going to the bathroom. Yes. And so I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's certainly one of my favorites. There also on the CD is FiberCon, which makes fun of Louis Farrakhan. By the way, which was very interesting. I played that for the Louis Farrakhan people on WNIS. And I said, what do you think about that? And I got basically a death threat on WNIS. They said, oh, you think that's funny? You think we know where you are, And yeah, they didn't like the FiberCon bit. So that's also one of my favorites. Yeah. So there's just so many, man. It's a plethora of crazy stuff. That's, I often said, Tony, when I'm long gone off this planet and they open up my brain, there's going to be like a freaking circus in there. There's going to be clowns. There's going to be crazy hookers, everything that you could imagine when they open up this brain.
Perry Stone is here today. We also got this email for you. This guy wrote this in earlier this morning at 7:48. He says, I'm truly enjoying the show today, as opposed to all the other days, I guess. So much that I went to Amazon to order Perry Stone's book. And there I discovered that there's another book of the same name.
Yes.
And the other one is free for the Kindle version. So I went that way. What's going on here, Stone?
There are so many, I guess the publisher didn't do their homework. There are so many Radio Days books out there. I didn't realize that. But you're just going to have to search for it, I guess. If I had my druthers right now, I would have called it something else. But the publisher, Dorrance, didn't really do their homework. But there are like 10 Radio Days books. So you'll just the cover of the book, you'll know it's me because half my face is like blown off. It's like Breaking Bad, that scene in Breaking Bad. So it's a very it stands out, the cover, so you're just going to have to search for it. There's nothing I can do about it. But they're going to do, evidently, some promotion behind the book. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I've been wearing hearing aids for 9 years. Are you deaf?
I think I've lost some hearing after all these years. I wouldn't consider myself deaf, but do I have the hearing of a 20-year-old? No. I mean, it's all the times of going to concerts and putting my headphones on for radio. But I'm sorry to hear that. So do you wear a miracle ear? Is that it?
No, I couldn't afford the Miracle Ear. I just got one of those old horns that they used to have like in the 1890s.
Let me tell you something, Tony, that's very in right now. The women love that. They love that. They like to blow in it. There's crazy stuff. They love it. Sexy.
I got this from Harry. Harry says, I worked for Nocturne Productions in Oakland and San Francisco back in the 1980s. And I also worked with Jack and Sue at the Cabaret in San Jose. And we had broadcast some live shows on KSJO. And you or Lori Roberts would be there to introduce the band from time to time. You made me laugh to tears so many times. You met a couple of times back then. It's great to hear you on the show with Tony this morning. That's from Harry.
Thank you, Harry. Much appreciated. Yeah, it's just amazing. You know, the book, people ask me, Perry, after all these years, you should write a book because you have all these stories, and I never had the patience for it. And then once I started writing, man, it was wonderful because all these things I haven't thought about in years, my mind became a film projector, and all of a sudden, all these glorious, I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly, as you know, reading the book, but it was fun. It was just fun doing it. So, it's all these, cities and experiences I've had. And there are photos in the book that shows some of the newspaper articles. So if you can't read, you could always get it for the pictures,
Also, it wasn't the only time at WNIS that you were in Virginia. You had an adventure in Charlottesville. Tell us about it.
Well, let's see. There's a lot of stories. Of course, I think everybody remembers the Wright rally. Everybody knows that. That was insane because Charlottesville is a very small city, and for that to happen, that was a crazy, crazy time. But for the radio station, I had a receptionist that hated my guts. And I tried to, it's just a show, it's just entertainment, but she hated my guts. So much so, and the station was exposed. Anybody could come in there and just blast me away or blast people. I was really exposed. So the company, Saga Communications, which owns WNOR, they had the strict rule, no guns. But after a while, she would send people, listeners, and I'd be on the air, and all of a sudden the door would open, and you'd have people screaming at me, going nuts. And so I made the decision, if the company is not going to protect me, it's not worth it. And nobody knew this, but I kept the gun under the studio board. And there was one time I almost did it. There was a crazed woman that went nuts. Now, mind you, I'm doing a show, and she starts blasting me. And you're a this, you're a that, and all that. And she's coming towards me, and I'm saying, oh, this may be it. And she backed off. So that was one of the experiences I've had. There's just so many in Charlottesville. You
had the Unite the Right rally. Didn't you come out for the Robert E. Lee statue?
Yes. Oh, there was another one. Yes. This was the talk. This made the news, okay? Basically what's happening, I'm glad you reminded me. The statue was a big controversial thing for Charlottesville. People, Charlottesville, you have to understand, Charlottesville proper is very liberal. Once you get to the outskirts of Charlottesville, it's all Republican, conservative, red. So basically, there was this movement to remove the Lee statue. So I took it upon myself. I was a supporter of leaving the statue there. So, of course, that incensed the Charlottesville City Council. I put them down every day. This is ridiculous. We have better things to do. So I did this whole thing. I went on social media, and it was kind of like a Sarah McLachlan thing. I was like, please save Robert E. Lee. Please, won't you donate today? It was like a sad music. And then I got the idea. That incensed the news, so they had to put that on the news that I was doing. I was making fun of it. So I called the mayor of Scottsville, which is about 20 miles outside of Charlottesville, and I called the mayor on the air, and I said, hey, look, they're going to remove the Lee statue. Why don't we move it there? And Scottsville's a tiny little town. So they were talking, and we got a lot of calls about it. And people said, and the mayor of Scottsville said, it's going to cost like a lot of money. We don't have the funds to do this if Charlottesville will help us out. So all these great listeners, or as I call them, stoneheads, said, Perry, it won't cost you a dime. We have flatbed trucks. We have this. We'll take it. It'll take a couple hours. Well, that just blew up all over the place. And it never happened. And subsequently, years later, they did take down the Lee statue. And around the country, they've taken, as you know, Tony, they've taken down Christopher Columbus and all these statues because, with everything going on in the country, it's imperative to make number one priority taking down frickin' statues.
Yeah, Christopher Columbus, too, because you really are an Italian guy, so we're not too thrilled about that.
No.
Now, you also, in the book, and go and buy the book, Radio Days, believe me, there's a lot more to it than what we're talking about here today. Get yourself a copy of the book, Radio Days. Watch his podcast. He is one of the most talented broadcasters that has ever lived. You will thank me for it. You will be entertained. He's one of the all-time greats, and you are, Perry. Tell me the Ozzy story.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a family show. The Ozzy story back in the day. So I worked for this station. I basically replaced Howard Stern. Howard Stern was on this radio station called WRNW. And I walked in and I did mornings and whatever. So the program director says, hey, tomorrow morning you want to talk to Ozzy Osbourne? He's got this song out, Crazy Train. Now, back then I didn't really understand Ozzy and Black Sabbath. Okay, fine. So Ozzy walks in. It's like 7 o'clock, 7:30. He's stoned out of his mind with the record company executive. And you could tell he didn't want to be there, So you have to understand the radio station in Westchester, New York, the studio was in an attic, and you could hear rats. When you were on the air, you flipped the microphone on, and you could hear the pitter patter of rats and vermin. Yeah, exactly. So you just have to work your way through it. So Ozzy sits down. He says, Ozzy, Crazy Train. It's about this, and he's bored. All of a sudden, you hear. He hears the pitter patter. He goes, what is that? I said, unfortunately, Ozzy, we have some vermin. We have some rats up there. And he doesn't realize. He starts laughing and cursing. And he says the F-bomb, effing rats. And I quickly said, you mean, you said the Fukin, right? The Fukin rats. That's it, British. Fukin, just because I figured I'm going to get fired. He said, that's amazing, man. I'm going to go up there. I'm going. He goes to the record. It's like he woke up. He thought it was the greatest thing that there was a radio station that had rats up in the attic. And then years later, I used to do this thing in New York where I would welcome bands at Madison Square Garden. And I got to welcome Ozzy. And I didn't think he recognized me. But as I introduced Ozzy at Madison Square Garden, he turns to me and goes, Fucking rats! Fucking rats!
Remember, we got this, and AW writes, I do remember that Farrakhan bit. And he says, I believe that Perry was genuinely afraid that day.
Yes, I was.
Was it Wallace Muhammad? I remember we used to have Wallace Muhammad on all the time. I did too.
Yeah, I don't remember, but they got into this. It was a serious conversation about Farrakhan and this and that. And then I said, you guys, do me a favor. I want you to listen to this and give me your opinion. And it was the Fibercon bit. And it was about if you need a stool softener, all this racism. And then it turned ugly. He says, oh, yeah, really? You think that's funny? And at the end it says, Malcolm X-Lax at the end of the bit. So so they said, a guy could be found. Yeah, we know where you are. And I said genuinely to myself, okay, maybe I went a little too far. The Farrakhan people are going to get me and whatnot. But the whole book talks about people trying to break into my house. Trying to get to me. Yeah, there have been a number of situations where people came after me. And I think for the most part, any sane individual, common sense, realizes that a lot of this stuff, it can be serious, but it's also entertainment. But people just take things the wrong way. And particularly nowadays, you really have to watch your back because they take it so seriously. And did you ever see the movie from Oliver Stone, Talk Radio?
Of course.
Oh, my God. When I saw that in the 80s, it was like I was looking at myself. I went to the theater and it blew me away. It was like, and it's based on a true story about Alan Berg, who was a Denver. They killed him. They followed him home and they shot him up in the driveway. And I saw myself in fact, I talk about how that movie really affected me. So every time
that didn't stop you from using Bad to the Bone as your interview.
Yes. See, I'm out of control. I mean, it's like, okay, so if they're going to get me, I might as well go out with the Talk Radio, Bad to the Bone, George Thorogood. Yeah.
Ken Hamlin also worked at that station at that time too. But at that time, he was a liberal before he saw which way the parade was going and grabbed a baton and ran out in front.
Yeah.
You've got so many great stories about so many of the great people that you met and everything and all that interesting stuff. And one of the things I got to tell you, given that I'm older than you and the age that you are, we are probably two of the few guys who actually have ever, still on the radio, who ever really played records on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very true.
So long ago.
Very true.
Now, one of the things I know it was Stern. I know you were inspired by Stern, and I'm older. I was really into like Wolfman Jack when I first used to hear him on WNBC and Don Imus, and initially Dan Ingram. But when you were a kid, who were the guys? And I think that we benefited from that.
Yes.
That we were young and we got to hear. I was growing up in New Jersey. You're in the city, and we're getting to hear some of the best disc jockeys in the world.
Yeah.
And we're saying, wow, you could. And I remember I was a kid, and I was about 11 or 12 years old, and we were at the Port Authority, and I saw Cousin Brucey, and I thought, well, I can't be Elvis, but that guy jumping up and down and playing records, and all those girls are looking at him.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it was so inspiring. I thought, man, I can do that. So who are some of the people, in addition to Howard Stern? Let me ask you about that. What do you think of the way Howard Stern has changed? Because he's not the same as he was. We all get old. We all change. We evolve.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Look, he is considered one of the, I guess, premier interviewers, and he does a good job. But for me, I like the old Stern. I like when he had strippers on, and he pushed it to the limit. Yes, I was inspired by that and some of the other great shows back in the 80s. But sure, Howard Stern was amazing. Now he has changed. He's become part of, he's very wealthy. I think he makes like $500 million a year or something, maybe more. And so he's become part of the establishment now, and the stuff he talks about, it's kind of like he poo-poos. He's very woke. He says he admits he's proud to be woke, which is fine. That's his opinion. But for me, I like the old, the Howard Stern that took chances. But he won't do that anymore because he's part of that establishment. He has to be, he has to be good now. That for me. But when I was growing up, it's funny you mentioned Cousin Brucey. There is a photo with an autograph in my book. When I went to camp, Cousin Brucey came in, and I was like, oh, my God, I grew up on WABC, and he signed it with a peace sign. And then he looks at me, and I said to him, I want to be in radio. He goes, why? Why do you want to do what? So he signed it, and that's in the book as well. But you're right. I grew up on WABC, a station on FM called 99X. But Dan Ingram, certainly one of the greats, and the man that put WABC on the air, named by Rick Sklar. And as fate would have it, when I was hired as a VJ in Boston, who was the consultant that hired me? Rick Sklar. Which was like, I was like floored. Rick Sklar called me. And then I remember calling him because they were deciding which shift each of these VJs, this was live TV in Boston and all over New England. So they decided to put Perry Stone on at night. And I got a little bit upset about that. So I called Rick Sklar and I say, I think you got all these, I don't know, low talent people, and you're putting me on like 7 p to 12 midnight. He says, no, Perry, that's on purpose. You're thinking in radio terms. The nighttime shift is the best shift because you're an entertainer. So that's why you got the best slot. And I said, now it makes sense. I'm thinking in radio terms. This was television. So it was an honor to work for him. He would give me advice. And it just shows you, it's a small incestuous business, how everything comes full circle. It's amazing.
So when are you coming to Hampton Roads for a book signing?
That's a good question. Hopefully soon. Can you offer me a job? Talk.
Oh, believe me, were it up to me, you'd be on the air. You know how that went down.
Yeah. I sent Sinclair. I'm sending Sinclair a book as well because he's in the book as well. So
he comes off good in the book. You treat him very nicely with respect.
Yeah, I do. No, my time at those radio stations, NIS and 96X, were really, really good. They were good, and he. You know what? I will say this about Bob, even though it ended and I was let go. I had a contract with him, and this is unheard of. I think, at least for me, it never happened to me. I had a year remaining on my contract. He paid me every cent. I was out of work for a year, and he paid me all the way through. And that is amazing. That shows the character of this guy. You don't get that in radio these days, for the most part.
Well, Perry, we're out of time.
Okay.
Now, I didn't call you personally because I wanted to wait till we were on the air together because I just wanted to crack up at all your stories because you're so good at telling them. I just wanted to enjoy it and be entertained by you again. Sure. But I will be calling you in the near future at about 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't mind, do you?
I love it, man. Will you whisper sexy things to me? Because I'm into that kinky stuff. Very, you know.
Hey, you're the best, man. You're the best. Continued success. Good luck with the book. I know I'm going to ask you again to do it. How are some of the ways that people can watch you and see you today?
Okay, today we got a lot of folks evidently following on Rumble. Just type in Perry Stone. If you're a Twitch person, it's Perry Stone 69. I'm on Donald Trump's Truth Social. Just type in Perry Stone. Let's see, where am I forgetting anything else? Elon Musk, X, formerly Twitter, Perry Stone 9. And I think that's about it. And hopefully the next year or two, I'll be back on Facebook as well, doing some live streaming. So, yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoyed this. I mean, I thought I was going to get like 10 minutes. I get like a freaking hour. Holy moly. Don't you have guests or something? What the hell is going on at that radio station?
None better than you, my friend. None better than you. Thank you, Perry.
You got it. Love you. Be good.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be good.
Perry Stone, buy the book, Radio Days.
Hey, it's Congressman.